So we're back, and in this video we want to add our iSCSI data store, and then that'll give us our two direct attached storage, one NFS, and then our iSCSI store. I wanted to, I changed out this information, and of course we did those in an earlier video. So we're sharing the same virtual network adapter that's tied to the kernel. We're sharing that for both NFS and iSCSI. A couple things that I want to use this opportunity to share with you, and that's that in the realm of iSCSI, there are terms that are used that I want to identify for you. The server side hosting the iSCSI hard drive space is referred to as the target. The device requesting access to the hard drive space is referred to as the initiator. Did I spell it right? Okay, I almost spelled it right. It's corrected my spelling. The device, it doesn't have to be a server, it can be a lot of things, but the device that's making the request is referred to as the initiator. It's initiating the connection. The server holding the hard drive space that's going to be shared out over iSCSI is referred to the target. And then the path is referred to as an IQN. Now these paths are generated on the server when you create the iSCSI share. So it's not like, you know, that we come up with this big long name. When you go to your storage area server and you, first of all, iSCSI has its own port, and you enable that, you enable the daemon for iSCSI, the iSCSI service, and you begin to then create iSCSI shares, the server will generate these names for you that are used, and they're a path, and they're unique. This path here is only intended for A19 or ESXi 19. And one thing that's different about iSCSI and NFS, when you go and look at the data store, it's like a Microsoft SMB share in that there's all of the storage available on the server, of which you've got a folder. So your NFS share is like a folder on a volume, where iSCSI is like a volume all to yourself. Okay, they are different, and you would think that would be more significant, and maybe it is in some instances, to have isolated hard drive space or to have a folder in a community of hard drive space. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I think we've done it here. We've identified that we're going to need the address for the server, and it's going to be 10.0.0. Either 243 or 244. For me, it's 243. And in my case, all right, let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so what I need to do here is I can't just jump right in and go to new data store. There's no option here for iSCSI, as you can see. So what I have to do is I have to go to adapters, and I have to create an iSCSI adapter. Now, there are hardware physical iSCSI adapters, and then there is a software iSCSI adapter. If I had a physical iSCSI adapter, I mean literally a network card dedicated to iSCSI, then I would have this option, but I don't. And so we're going to create what VMware calls a synthetic or a virtual iSCSI adapter. Click on it, and I click on Enable. Okay, now this is where you want to be careful. You want to be careful to work with static targets. The other option is dynamic targets, and it's not that there's nothing wrong or bad about that. It's just that if you go with a dynamic target, you're going to connect potentially to way more iSCSI shares than we intend for you to. So the lab is written, and the iSCSI shares are set up for a static target. And that's all we have to do here. Well, I enabled it. I enabled it here, and I left all of this defaulted. So I come down here and I say add a static target. Now we've got two pieces of information to fill into here. One of them is the IQN value, and the other one is the IP address. And then you can see that it's port 3260. So I'm going to pause the video and copy and paste my data in. When I pasted my data in, when I copied and pasted it, I had a space at the end here of RAID 1, and it wouldn't let me save it. So I guess I share that with you because, you copy and paste, and I happen to grab a space in that. But if everything goes okay, then you should be able to save the configuration. You can see down here my error message. Okay. So now that the configuration is saved, one of two things is going to happen. Some of us will experience one thing I'm about to describe, and others of us will experience something different. And you say, whoa, what are you talking about, Randy? Well, let's go look. When we go to the data stores now, some of you, if you refresh, will immediately see your iSCSI store as being created. And that's because it was configured by an earlier student in an earlier class. Okay, and so you may see that. And if you see that, then it'll show up like the NFS store did, and you can right-click on it, browse it, and remove any files or folders that are in there. Others of us, if your iSCSI target was cleared and reset, what we'll need to do is we'll need to do what I'm going to show you here. So mine didn't show up. So I right-click on it and I say New Data Store, and I go the traditional route. Okay, rather than, there is no iSCSI option, but because I've created my storage adapter, because I have configured iSCSI when I did my synthetic adapter, then what I should see is I should see this. Okay, I know that it goes pretty fast. I was reviewing my last year's video, and sometimes it's like we just need to sort of stop and think for a minute. Let me finish this out, and we'll stop and think. So most of you will not see this. Most of you will see the other option, and that's where the iSCSI store shows up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and accept that. Notice that it does have it has 200 gig. Okay, same things as we've seen before, and we'll go ahead and finish that. Okay, so it showed up here. Okay, so here they are. Here's our 4 stores. Here's what we're going to need a screenshot of. And we're good. I think we did everything. Oh, I was going to review briefly with you about how it's handled differently. Because we did this, because we went in here and because we did this, it brought in through the VMware kernel, it brought in the storage as if it was locally attached. And that's why when we went here to create the data store, we went the traditional route rather than this route. So think of this like a Microsoft shared folder, what we call an SMB share. And then think of this as being, it presents to the operating system like we installed another hard drive. All right. So we're good. We're good then. Screenshot this and we're good. And as we move on to configuring our servers, we want to look next at setting up the switches and the port groups. Alrighty. Let me know if you have any questions on this, and we'll just keep working our way through.